Reality proves to us that cases of suicide, broken families, and rising murder often begin with financial entanglement through gambling. This demonstrates that gambling functions much more like a narcotic, trapping individuals in severe addiction. For this reason, prison regulation is exceptionally effective strategy that must be supported over social services and skill training, since deterrence cannot be achieved through lenient measures. With that, I oppose this motion. Many consider rehabilitation over punishment to be the most significant approach, particularly in helping offenders discover an interest in a certain skill and distance themselves from gambling addiction when it is not as easy as how it sounds like. However, as the opposition, we firmly believe that resolving the addiction of gambling offenders lies in a specialized imprisonment section, not only lenient social services designated for such offenders, because again, deterrence is the only way fixing this addiction. First of all, few setups in today's motion. First, how we see this motion. It is part of policy motion where we do not want to imply this regulation. The burden of proof coming to our side then emerged. A, why rehabilitation alone is insufficient, and B, how imprisonment has a necessary role compared to social service and skill training. Second of all, house manifestation coming from our side of the house. Firstly, we will program a structured correctional system inside the imprisonment, which includes psychological treatment and skill development program, thereby reducing recidivism while maintaining the justice. We would adapt Norway imprisonment system, which emphasizes programs such as cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, a significant and proven way by studies to combat gambling addiction, and also vocational training inserted inside it. Second of all, hence when they are released from the prison, future job trajectory are still maintained in our side of the house. But before going on to the argument's preemption to begin with, first of all, they might say gambling is a mental health disorder, not pure criminality. Panels, the fact that we normalize this statement will open much more chances for criminalities coming from gamblers. Will you close your eyes from the fact that the harsher the addiction gets, the more people will risk everything, loan property, even harming their own family? Treating it as only an addiction ignores the reality that gambling inevitably drives millions and millions of cases of criminal behavior in status quo. Second of all, they might counterattack saying that it will increase the cost. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a check and balance, which is investing more into specialized prisons so perpetrators got both deterrence and also the skills. While a social training also costs lots of funding, but they only end up with skills. But how will you guarantee they will get the deterrence of their own addiction? Moving on directly to my arguments. First of all, gambling is an economic crime, not just addiction. Unlike drug use, gambling creates ripple harms, debts, fraud, loan sharking, even funding organized crime, especially in a wide range of illegal activity. Treating it as softly as just an addiction ignores the structural damage to the economy and society. Imprisonment sends a clear message that gambling crimes have broad social victims. If the state prioritizes social service, it risks sending the signal, don't worry, even if you gamble illegally, you'll just get free training. And we do not want that to happen in our side of the house. I don't think the term will side the government house in today's motion. If the state doesn't punish gambling with imprisonment, underground gambling syndicates may flourish, believing the law has no teeth more. Strong punishment protects the state's credibility and prevents escalation into larger organized crimes. Second of all, it's about the inequality and injustice. Gambling is not a victimless act, panels. It devastates families financially, emotionally, how it burdens with debts, instability, and traumas for spouses, children, and entire households. A policy that focuses only on social service and skill training risks sidelining these victims as it centers the offender's recovery alone while ignoring the need for accountability. Worse than such programs often benefit middle-class or educated offenders only who can adapt, while poor, less educated offenders, most vulnerable actors right now, are left behind. This creates inequality and injustice where rehabilitation becomes a privilege for a few but not guaranteeing for all. Imprisonment, by contrast, both restores balance for victims by affirming that their suffering is acknowledged and inserts fairness by holding every offender equally accountable regardless. Lastly, it's about the deterrence and shock therapy. Some addictions are so strong that people need a sudden break. One of for the gambling addiction is prison. Even though it is harsh, it provides a break in a way social service or skill training cannot. By isolating offenders from easy access to gambling, it forces them to stop and reflect, and giving them the shock therapy, acting as the first or sometimes the most important step before their recovering. Sometimes only firm action works. Gambling destroys lives and harms families, and lenient measures alone will never stop it. Imprisonment breaks destructive cycles and shows accountability and sends a clear message society will not tolerate this harm, and that's why we oppose. Thank you.